Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another bonus episode of Let's Talk, but no politics, okay? Here on the Helium Radio Network. And if you're listening to this, you know that it is 7 p.m. Eastern, and because that is what time every bonus episode of Let's Talk, but no politics, okay, comes on the wonderful Helium Radio Network. And before we get into today's topic, let me tell you a little bit about our sponsor. The Podcast Precinct is a podcast studio, game streaming center, just a great creative place to go. It is located in Western New York in North Tonawanda. And if you are looking to start a podcast, not quite sure on how to start a podcast, they can help you out with a low price for recording of $20 a month per person, and you can record in one of two recording spots. A nice professionally soundproofed recording studio, and also in the open air on a nice couch where you can sit back and relax with your guest. The Podcast Precinct is absolutely amazing. I know whenever I'm in the Western New York area and I need to record, I call them up and I get a time, and I go right in there, pay my money, and they are more than accommodating. So remember, the Podcast Precinct: consistency, creativity, and culture. All right, so today's topic is let's think school here. We all require reading in school. You're required to read this book, you're required to do, this. And I think sometimes when it comes around the holidays, that can be said the same for some movies. And Halloween there's Easter movies, but not too much. And Easter is such a big gap from that's the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And I think when you start winding down is when you get into those big movie holiday times. And that's why I wanted to go over some Halloween movies, some specials. I talked about horror movies last week on my main podcast with Bryce Benjamin. This Sunday, I'm talking about Halloween specials with Marley, who I normally do the movie reviews with. But today, we are doing just what is required. As you can see by the tiers, required watching. These are movies, these are specials, Disney movies, stuff like that. What is required watching for the Halloween season? And I'm going to go by what I feel is required. And that's where the tier begins. Number one is required watching. I think you just got to watch it. And then after my required watching means once I'm done with all these, then I'll try and get to those. And then if I got time, I can fit it in. And no thank you means I'm not dealing with that movie. I'm done with it. And it could either mean that it's really bad or it still freaks me out to this day. So let's dive into this one. First one is Addams Family Values. This is not my favorite of the Addams Family movies, so I'm going to put this into a no thank you. I'm sorry. It just goes right there. No thank you. I am not doing this. So that was enough. Addams Family, the first one, I believe it could go into I think this goes into if I have time. If I got time to watch it. Not too keen on it. I don't know. It's not something I don't want to watch. The next one, Beetlejuice. I think this is a required watching. I think this is one of the few ones where you can sit back. I have older kids now. I could sit back and watch this with my kids and don't have to worry about them getting too freaked out, I believe. So that's why I got to put it definitely in required watching. Okay, so the next one is the Blair Witch Project. I think this one is possibly. I think this one is no thank you now. When it first came out, it was scary, but I think it's one of those things where unless you're watching it with somebody new that's never seen it, you kind of know the end, and it gets frustrating throughout the whole entire movie. And once you figure out the end, I'm a person that likes closure. I want to know what happened. Nobody knows, so I know that's supposed to be the scary mystery aspect of it, but I can't do that. So uh, I got to put it in no thank you. Ghostbusters 2, I think this is done after my required watching. After I'm done watching all of what I got to do, whatever what I want to watch, then I watch Ghostbusters. Any other month of the year, I think Ghostbusters, other maybe than other December, is kind of required watching. Ghostbusters is amazing. I even like Ghostbusters 2. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. So I'm going to put it in after my required watching. Tyler Perry's Boo, Medea's Halloween. This is if I have time. This is if I have time. I like it. I like the aspect of it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big fan of a lot of Tyler Perry's movies. I know a lot of people may not like Medea, or a lot of people love Medea, but I definitely got to go with this one. I enjoy it, but I think this is one for Halloween. Is if I have time, I'll sit down and watch it. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is we're talking movie here, not TV show. TV show I didn't really get into too much. Completely different too. But I think this is after my required watching. This is something I definitely could sit down and another one of those movies, kind of like Beetlejuice, where I could sit down and watch the kids. Where it could probably with watch the kids, watch with the kids. Uh, it gets a little scary, it gets a little spooky, it's a little all over yeah, kinda, but I don't think it's all that bad where you got to worry about watching it. So the next one is this is more of a recent one. It's Toy Story of Terror. This is 100% required. Even if my kids don't sit down and watch it with me, I know I want to sit down and watch the Toy Story of Terror. I talk more about it this week in my coming up my main episode. So if you want to hear more about how I feel about the Toy Story of Terror and why it's in my required watching, please go check out this Sunday's Let's Talk But No Politics Okay main episode on on the BICBP radio network. Website bicbp-radio.com. So let's continue on because so far it's very evenly balanced. I kind of like that. Casper. And I'm doing this more if I'm sitting around pretty much by myself because, like I said, my kids are older, so they just go into their rooms. My one son just goes outside to play. So I get a lot of time to do things. Uh, Casper is if I have time. I'll watch it. So that means like if the kids pop in and they're like, "Hey, I want to watch a movie and I want to watch Casper," uh, then I'll watch it. It's it's okay. I think it's one of those movies that kind of has weighed on me over the years, where the rose colored glasses are starting to fade on this, and that's how I feel about Casper. It's just not what it used to be. Old gray mare ain't what she used to be. In the words of Abe Simpson. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This is a no thank you. No, thank you. And it's not because it's bad. I think it's not that bad of a movie. It just freaks the crap out of me to this day. That whole 3 a.m. thing, not cool. I stay away from it. I'm not going to watch it. It freaks me out. I could deal with a lot of horror, scary stuff now that I'm older, but am I 100% church going religious person? No, but there's just some things that I don't mess around with, and this is one of them right here. So let's move on. Let's move on. Friday the 13th, the original one, or any of the Friday the 13th. I think there's it's a required watching. I feel it is. I've watched some of the beginning of the original one this year, and I feel to get into that Halloween mood. This is one of those movies. This is definitely one of those movies to get into the Halloween mood. Which one do you want to watch? There's so many. Um, it's definitely a clear my head type movie where you don't really have to be. I feel a lot of these horror slasher ones, you don't have to be 100% invested in the story because there's not much of a story in some of these as they get on. The first one there is, but as it goes on, it gets a little. The story is faded and watery out. But as a Halloween movie, yes, it's required watching. Coraline. Coraline is nuts. That is the best way to put it. This, I believe it's stop motion. Little girl finds this door. She goes into this world where everything is different and a little bit better. You know what? I'm gonna put this after my required watching. I don't think it's required watching, but if you're looking for something good and something spooky out there, especially if you have kids, maybe a little bit older. I'm not saying you're going to watch this with like a 4 or 5 year old, but a little bit older and get some kind of scare going on. Coraline is amazing at that. That's the best way I could put it. It is a freaky movie without giving out too many spoilers. It is a freaky movie. It's a good movie. But I definitely believe it's required watching. So check out Coraline if you haven't. And if you're not sure, you know your kids, like I know my kids, what they can handle, what they can't handle. Watch it first, because even as an adult, like I said, it is still a good movie. So watch it first, check it out, and see if your kid could handle it or could not handle it. Next one, this one is definitely required watching. Some put in the wrong tier there. Is Ernest Scared Stupid? I grew up loving Ernest. I will always love Ernest. And I think this is another great kind of stupid, silly movie. You can sit down with the family. That's why it's kind of required in there, or even by myself. Like I said, this is mostly stuff that I would think about watching by myself. And it's good. It's really good. It's family fun. It's nothing. It's good in the way that it's family fun. Nothing too creepy, but yet kind of. I actually think Coraline's creepier than Ernest Scared Stupid, but it's fun. It's got Ernest. If your kid's never seen Ernest, or if you've never seen Ernest, check them out. If you just like some good campy, slapstick comedy fun, that is what Ernest Scared Stupid is, right there in a nutshell. Just good, campy, slapstick fun. I think that's the only way that I can really define it out in that manner. So let's keep on going. It. This is the original It from 1993 TV miniseries. I think this is a required watching. Doing the movie review at the end of the month that will come out on Halloween. Jack and Marley and I are going to be doing it. Well, that doesn't sound right. Reviewing it. And so I don't want to get into too much of how I feel about it and why it's required watching, because I think we'll get into the movie review on it of why, if you're wondering why it is. I know probably a lot of people think it is would agree with me that it is a required kind of Halloween watching, but it is good. Let's just leave it at that. So here's one everybody loves. I think a lot of people love this. This is probably, I would have to say, the biggest cult Halloween movie in a way, or especially one of the biggest cult movies ever in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Unfortunately, I got to put it in the no thank you. I'm not doing the time warp. I'm not a big fan of musicals as it is, and it is just not that great in my mind, but I can see why it is a cult classic. I can see why people dress up at midnight and go and see this. Unfortunately for me, it is not my cup of tea, so therefore this is a no thank you. This is not even on I need to watch this to view it, because I really enjoyed it. It's just no thank you. No thank you at all. Hocus Pocus. No thank you. I can't stand Hocus Pocus anymore. Kind of like Casper, where the rose-colored glasses have faded. I can see clearly now through the rain, and it is not good. I don't like it. It hurts my head to watch it. Well, I sit down and say, hey, my kids want to watch it. Yeah, but will I be very reluctant? Yes. Would I sit there and play on my phone? Yes. Because I just don't want to deal with it. I don't know. I just don't think it is as great as what it used to be. A lot of people would probably, I'm guessing, would put it in required watching. I just, no thank you. Ghostbusters now. I'm actually going to put this in after my required watching. Ghostbusters is cool, but I think you need a special type of thing for it to be required watching on Halloween. Ghostbusters is so great by itself. I feel that even without the Halloween mood, it still will come out okay. So that's why I'm going to put it in after my required watching with Ghostbusters 2. Halloween. Halloween is a required watching. I'm a big fan of Michael Myers and all of his work going on. So yeah, it's definitely got to be required watching. It's Halloween. The movie's name is Halloween, and you're watching it because you're trying to get into the Halloween spirit. What more do you need? Am I right? I think I'm right on this. It's a great story kind of in the beginning. Once again, a lot of these horror slashers, as I'm finding out, they get a little watered down with story, or they get mixed up, and then they're like, oh, we got to reboot this some way. But it's Halloween. The movie's name is Halloween. it's Halloween night or Halloween the month leading into Halloween, you you gotta watch it. You definitely gotta watch it. Speaking of another show with Halloween in it, Halloween Town. This is a no thank you. By the time Halloween Town came out, I was a teenager. I have no ties to it. Well, this is, I'm not bagging on it saying it's bad, but I just don't have that nostalgic tie to it, or I think I would watch it. I know a lot of people that are younger than me say, "Oh my goodness, I got to watch Halloween Town. I love Halloween Town." But I think for people my age, there's not that tie to it where it's a must watch. I don't even know if I've watched the whole thing all the way through, and I don't even know if I want to, as you could see by me putting it into a no thank you, just because of that. But here is something I do have nostalgic ties to, and I believe is a required watching on Halloween, or for the month of Halloween. There is the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. How, how do you not watch this? Even if you watch a couple of the episodes, uh, you got to watch it. I have a cousin that watches all of them throughout all of October. Every single Treehouse of Horror. He sits down and he watches. I don't know if he watches one or two a day, but I know he sits down, he watches them. And who can blame him? They're great. They're, a lot of them are really great, really thought out. Play on other horror thriller type stories and everything else. So it's probably, it's definitely, it's probably the next to Charlie Brown's Great Pumpkin. It's probably the best Halloween special. I can, up there. I just feel like it is definitely required watching. I know I enjoy it. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, I have a cousin that sits down and watches them all the time. So that is definitely required watching for me. Or Nightmare on Elm Street, already did Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, definitely required watching for this holiday season. It sounds so weird. When I think of holiday season, I think of like Christmas. But uh this is definitely a must. If you're gonna watch Friday the 13th and It and Halloween, you definitely got to watch Nightmare on Elm Street. It's up there. You definitely got to watch it. Absolutely amazing. Required. At least, like I said, watch one of them. Don't got to watch them all. Pick out your favorite. Maybe it's like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warrior. But either way, I think it's a required watching. Here's another one that I believe is required watching: Scream. I know they're coming out with another one. That's a whole other can of worms that I could open up on a different episode about that. But it's not anything, or that I'm talking about remakes, but losing my train of thought. It's great. This is definitely one that I grew up with. This is when I'm getting into my teenage years and stuff like that. So, where my aunt, who is not that much younger than me, grew up on the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, this is kind of like as I'm getting into the teenage years. So that's why Scream's got to be up there. This was the one everybody was like, "Oh my goodness, you got to watch Scream." And it's definitely still true to this day. You got to watch Scream whenever it's on. Speaking of remakes, it is a no thank you. I don't think it's as good as the television miniseries. I don't think it even holds a candle to it. That's just how I feel. Sorry. The Exorcist is a no thank you, based on, the diary of, or sorry, the exorcism of Emily Rose. That is definitely a no thank you right there. Uh, so let's keep on going here. The Faculty. I think this one is if I have time. I kind of liked it when it came out. Uh, Another kind of rose-colored glasses are starting to become clear. Not that great. The whole alien thing is weird. Spoiler. Uh, so yeah, that's if I have time. If I have time. Shaun of the Dead. I think because I've seen it so many times without the whole Halloween thing, I think it's after my required watching that I'd sit down and watch some Shaun of the Dead. But it's definitely one of those movies because my kids are getting older that I could probably sit down and watch with them, or as we're trying to find a movie to watch, definitely watch it through there because it's that little bit more comedic, natural comedic than say Ernest Scares Stupid, but it also has a great little scary element in there as well. So let's keep on keeping on. Sleepy Hollow. I really like this movie, but I think I gotta put it in after my required watching. That's definitely where I gotta put it. Is after my required watching. It's it's a good one, but not. I don't know. I understand the creepiness behind it, Headless Horseman, all that stuff. But is it really? Do I feel like it's required? No. Monster House, shockingly, I feel is a required watching because it's something once again. It's something I feel you can watch this movie with a kid or just by yourself just because of the great storyline behind the whole idea of Monster House and why the house is a monster, as the title says. So that is where I got to put that right there. Indefinitely required watching. So let's do a little recap of each one of the tiers. I know I probably missed a few. Charlie Brown's The Great Pumpkin, and there's some other movies. Like I said, I have a limited amount of time to record, get out my episode, and everything else. So if there's something, if you're watching on YouTube, there's something that you want to put in, you agree, you disagree with, please leave in the comments. More than welcome to do that, and I will get back to you as long as it is a healthy discussion and nothing too trolling. So, required watching. This is what I definitely sit down and watch or would watch every Halloween season. We have Beetlejuice, Toy Story of Terror, Friday the 13th, Ernest Scared Stupid, It, the TV miniseries, Halloween, Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, and Monster House. After my required watching, what I would watch, start looking for after I've watched what I wanted to watch. We have Ghostbusters 2, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that's the movie, Coraline, Ghostbusters, Shaun of the Dead, and Sleepy Hollow. If I have time, maybe there's some couple hours before or came home after trick-or-treating with the kids, I can sit down and watch some stuff, is Addams Family, Tyler Perry's Boo, A Medea's Halloween, Casper, and The Faculty. And no thank you, these are stuff that freaks me out or I just do not care for. First one is Addams Family Value, just don't care for. Blair Witch Project, don't care for anymore. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, freaks me out. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, no, just not my cup of tea. Hocus Pocus, rose-colored glasses are becoming clear. Halloween Town, just no connection towards it. The remake of it, not what I thought it was gonna be, and The Exorcist, definitely not messing with it. So that is the list, and like I said, check that out. You can watch the video on YouTube, and remember to tune in every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Helium Radio Network to catch bonus episodes of Let's Talk But No Politics, okay? Also, check out main episodes of Let's Talk But No Politics, okay? Every Sunday on the BICBP Radio Network. That is BICBP-radio.com. Also find episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon. So please go check out all of that, and go check out the Facebook page. Tons of great content there every day. There's always, today in pop culture history that you can check out. Also, some great questions and stuff of that nature. So please go check out all of that. And with that being said, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.